Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the fourth training video about scientific reading with me, Hatice Bilgiçlim. Let's get started. Okay, this one includes the last step of reading. And it's all about active reading. This is the most detailed of all. So stay with me on this one. You will notice this is called active reading and not just reading. What does that mean? Active reading is interacting with the material and almost having a conversation with the author. This will help you to engage with the material and increase retention. If I were to guess, you are probably already familiar with these simple actions, and maybe you will start doing them more intentionally after learning they increase the effectiveness of reading. The active reading actions can be applied to both digital or printed materials. The first action is highlighting or underlining the text for major points. You can use a highlighter or color pens. The second is adding comments onto margins or using sticky notes for extra space or to preserve library books if you're using them. The third action is using abbreviations for repeated annotations. For example, M for method, Q for question, R for further research, G for gap in literature, and L for limitations. As simple as these steps may seem, they are guaranteed to save you a lot of time and energy in the long term. Once you complete your reading and move on to the next thing in your life, your highlights and comments become an easy and reliable way to go back to the material you already read. Then you can immediately call back the points you marked for attention during reading. If you get into the habit of doing this on a regular basis, going back to review will be a quick and easy task before your exam or when your class paper is due. Even though highlighting may be adding some extra time as you go through your initial reading, in the long term, it will be a big time and stress saver. All right, let's look at an example and see how all of these steps can be applied. As an example, I will use the paper I downloaded from PubMed about personalized medicine. It's very easy to highlight electronically on your PDF copy. You just need to click the icon at the top menu, which will bring up the highlighting pen that you can use. So this is how you do this mechanically. But how do you decide what to highlight? The first important item to look for in an abstract is the rationale. Why the authors performed this research? Why it matters? That is definitely something you need to pay attention to at the beginning of the abstract, and it's a good one to highlight. Next, depending on the author and the journal, often there may be information about the methods. Other times, you wouldn't find such details. If methods is the reason you are reading this article, then it will be in the abstract where you would look for clues. And if you find it there, you would definitely highlight that. The third and the most important item to get from an article is the main finding. What the authors found as a result of their research. This is usually listed towards the end. This is the last item you would want to ensure highlighting in the abstract. All right. Once you're done with the abstract highlighting, you can add other comments onto margins. You can add the comment box by clicking on the icon you see at the top menu. Alternatively, you can right-click on the already highlighted text. This will bring up a little menu with the option to open a pop-up note. Once you created the comment box, you are ready to type your notes into it. When you finish typing your note, you can click on post and your comment is posted on the document. When you're deciding what to write as a comment, think about your purpose for reading. Also, what you want to remember from this article. In this example, one of the first aspects you may want to remember is how they define personalized medicine. This may be important for you because you may be having a research project about this, or you may know it is going to be a question on your exam. Alternatively, you may want to know this to make comparisons to other definitions you already know, or to decide for yourself, is this a good enough or not good enough definition? Now, another useful feature regarding comments is this. There's an option for other readers to add their own comments as a reply to yours. If you were collaborating with others and wanted them to read the same paper, then comment, they can easily add a reply in the comment box. This may be helpful for a group reading project, for example. Here, the second section that I highlighted in abstract is the background about this topic. It includes the history, the technologies, as well as successes and drawbacks. If this is an important item for you, you would put here as a note. Whenever you need to remember what the background of this topic was, you can come back and read it again. All right, as we talked about earlier, one of the most significant points to get out of the abstract is the conclusion. In this case, there is this one sentence towards the end of the abstract with conclusions from this article. You would want to note that down as well. When you're taking your notes, something vital, very vital to keep in mind is to use your own words. You wouldn't want to copy and paste what the authors wrote word by word, because this is not reflecting your learning from it. You would incorporate your own learning to your next step, not copy and repeat what the author said. Of course, there's a concern about plagiarism too, which is also very important. However, this is separate than that. It's more referring to the ability to digest what you read and state it reflecting your own understanding. This is very critical, and it's a skill that will serve you well in the long term. Okay, once you complete your comments in the abstract, I always recommend reading the conclusions. If it's a book chapter, you may be looking at the introduction and the conclusion chapters instead. Reading the abstract and the conclusions will give you the most important aspects of the article. Conclusions is a great section to add summary notes because this is where authors summarize their most significant takeaways. These will be important summary notes for you to keep so that you can refer to them later. Now, one more point to add here is about underlining. In this example, you will see that significant summary sections in conclusions were underlined instead of highlighting. This way, you can differentiate the summary notes from your other notes visually. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you do it, it will help you locate these sections faster. And always remember, while you're taking your notes, you can use the abbreviations we talked about. For example, on this page, you can see abbreviations for questions, further research, gaps, and limitations. The questions here are about aspects that authors didn't research or didn't include in their publication. This would be especially important to you if you're looking to learn more about that very specific aspect. You read the entire paper to learn this, but at the end, you see, oh, they didn't include it. So if you want to research more about that, you can add a comment. In addition, if there is a limitation, you would want that note here as well. The reason is that the limitations are one of the ways for you to decide if the author's conclusions are valid and if they are reliable enough for you to include for your own purposes. All right, one last point before we conclude this video. It is about reading other sections of the article. Once you complete reading the abstract and the conclusions, if your purpose is to learn additional aspects of the article, you can go into additional sections. These can be the methods, the results, or limitations sections. You will read these additional sections, highlight, and add comments just like we have done so far. You will find the marked up version of our example article as a downloadable resource in this course. Please feel free to review on your own and let me know any questions. With that, we completed the third and last of the reading steps. This also marks the end of the fourth training video. This is work well done. Next, we will be reviewing the post-reading actions. That will be in the next video. See you there.